Episode 54. With the market and economic volatility going on right now, how you can stay the course and build a profitable business. We're going to dive into that right now.
Here we go.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
All right. There we go. Now I can hear us.
Yeah.
All right. I was worried there a little bit. I couldn't hear shit.
I almost just walked out.
I was like, show's over.
Forget it.
Show is over. It's canceled.
Like school and Harvard and South by Southwest.
This is, let me tell you, this is the only political thing I'm ever going to say on this show.
No, it's not.
It is. It's not the only political thing I'm ever going to say in real life, but on this show, there's something hilarious about kind of like when we're doing the coronavirus thing. It's become polarizing like everything else in this country. It's sort of like if you're more conservative, you're less worried about the virus. If you're more left-leaning, you're probably taking it much more seriously. I gotta understand what the inner struggle of some of the hipsters in Austin right now is like, because they're probably super scared of coronavirus because they're more left-leaning, but they are so pissed that South by Southwest got canceled. Like, how do you deal with that inner conflict? Like, I need to know. They probably just walk their dogs without leashes or something. I don't know. That's how they deal with it.
Well, we are breaking the rules right now because we're too close to each other. I think it's a 3-foot minimum.
I think next week we should do it with masks, but not regular like very elaborate like gas masks. Like,
I think we should do the exact opposite, just homemade shit.
We'll just do it naked.
I did find Heather went all out. I'm going to give her credit for helping us prep for this. It's now a pandemic. It's now all.
It's a pandemic. Were you about to say pandemonium?
It's all fucking pandemonium.
What did she do?
Dude, we just dropped all like our life savings on food.
It's like $12 million or something.
He's just gonna spend all his money on ready-to-eat meals.
We've got several months worth of food in case. Here's the thing, we were joking around about the coronavirus. It's now here. It's now starting to spread.
3 in Frisco. That's my hood.
Yep.
That's what I heard last night.
Yep. 3 in Frisco. There's now some in Tarrant County.
Oh, there we go. I just got the text. Parade is canceled.
Which parade?
The St. Patty's Day on
I
Greenville.
figured they were going to do
Look,
that.
at Boston, Chicago, and everybody else canceled. There's no way Dallas wasn't canceling it. We had to hang on to that thing for a deal of life to begin with. Mark Cuban had to come rescue the St. Patty's Day parade.
Yeah, dude. When Chicago dyes the river and everything, when they cancel it, man, there's like a few million people that go to the one in Chicago.
Arthur stopped by. He just commented on here. Arthur stopped by my house. He's going skiing tomorrow and picking up some goggles and shit. And he's like, they had Amazon Prime shit everywhere.
Really?
Also, it's not several months. We'd be lucky to make it 2 weeks. Bullshit, Heather. Like, there's stuff in there that, like, we're buying stuff that's going to last that we normally wouldn't eat. So I'm like,
I have 13 cans of tuna.
Yeah. I'm like,
I'm feeding a cat.
Like, look,
That's
hopefully
a
it doesn't
weird,
hit.
It's a weird existential thought to have, though. Like, if you got quarantined, what would you, if you just had a straight toss-up, would you rather get coronavirus, but you know you're going to live, or eat tuna for 13 straight days?
Get coronavirus.
I'm eating tuna for 13 days.
Coronavirus. Give me the corona.
When I get sick, it's
Give
not
me the
even
corona
funny.
all day. All day.
Brian and I talked about this on the Super Secret podcast today, where it was like, dude, I'm the biggest bitch when I'm sick. There's no part of me that wants to be sick at all. Nothing.
Here's the thing. I just want the news to report on me.
They won't, though. They won't. That's the thing is we all think that the world's going to care if we're the one who goes. Guess what? Everybody's going to be like, 3.5% survival of the fittest. Sorry, Nick.
That's right. Dude, fucking bitch.
Nobody remembers that person that got Ebola in Frisco like 5 years ago.
No, I would hang it up on the wall like
you
a
don't
plaque.
live in that's right. Like Nick has like his diploma, all his real estate awards, and then like a newspaper clipping about how he got coronavirus
on my listing presentation
in his office.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. We were hovering around 25, 30 live viewers. We literally had dropped It dropped down to 14, 15
Nobody wants to
people.
talk about this
That's
anymore,
how fast
dude.
it's spreading.
Oh, they're gone. we need more viewers. But hey, in the meantime, before we officially get started on all this, episode 54, if you're looking to take 10 plus listings every single month, we're at 6 listings. We're starting out. March was slow with us last
I think
year, man.
we're at 6 right now.
We're at
Just
6.
took another.
I took another one today.
We're at
yeah.
Chris
6.
took one today,
We're at
yeah.
6. We took 10 last year at
Really?
the same time. So
Oh, so
March,
you're
March
ahead
was
of the-
shitty.
you're
March
ahead
was
of the
shitty,
curve.
but it is ahead. We're ahead altogether in terms of listings taken. But so if you're interested in learning how we take 10 plus listings every single month and even more than that,
Every single
go to
month.
touracademy.com/take10 to learn how we take 10 plus listings every single month. We've got our lead sources on there, how we're converting them, how we're talking to them, what we're doing to continuing to show value and winning against the competition. You will be prompted to watch a webinar and then sign up for Tour Academy for $1. And then you're also going to want to sign up if you're not in our Facebook group, the only real estate group worth being a part of.
That's really where you want to go.
That's the only place
Yeah.
I mean, we want them to sign up though.
We do.
Yeah.
Sign up for everything, but the group has got some good juice. It's funny that you say that, like, that we're bringing this up, and we know we're joking about people jumping off because they don't want to talk about Corona, but let's be, like, super serious. If you haven't had a client or if you haven't had this come up with somebody, Brian and I were doing something early, and one of our agents texted us about how she has a buyer who's putting down a large amount of cash, and he's just completely suspending all operations right now. He ain't buying anything. She's like, what do I say?
Yeah, she was like, "What's the objection handler?" She's like, he's saying he doesn't want to buy a house because the market's down, and he thinks the market's down because of coronavirus. And like, there's already like 7 things wrong with that. But like, it's you guys gotta understand. Like, this is super morbid to say, but like, it's a super good thing if you're in the real estate market right now, right? Like interest rates being incredibly low, other people being gun shy. Like, buyers have a ton of leverage right now.
I feel like they do.
We had another offer that just another contract that just terminated because literally, this is a real thing that happened. A buyer yesterday, it was under contract for like $227, and the buyer just sent over an amendment for a $10,000 price reduction and was like, since the market lost 7% the other day, I want $10,000 off this house.
Get the hell
And we had
outta
13
here.
offers on the house, so of course our agent was like, yeah, you can. Literally, I'm just going to send a middle finger back to you.
Yeah,
I don't know
hope-
how.
I really
But
hope
that was
that
a real
buyer-
thing that happened.
I hope that buyer's agent told their person that was a terrible idea, and they just had to present it anyways because their person went rogue.
Right.
If you are a real estate agent who is cheering on your client from the cheap seats when they're making decisions like that, I hope you do not have a license in 2021.
I mean,
because
you're
an
like, you're
idiot.
not going to grow a business that
No,
way, right?
dude.
That's just terrible.
That's insanity.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it's a great thing right now, but again, we're talking about the volatility in the marketplace, right? So there's several things that happen at this moment, right? Lenders are swamped.
Yeah, that's a
right?
big deal.
Refis are going on.
Yep.
And the lenders are working. They're overly exhausted because here's what's going on, right? Your rates are dropping. Let's say that you lock in a rate 2 weeks ago,
Yep.
right? You're getting ready to close on your refinance, and then all of a sudden you see rates drop. You hear rates are dropping
Yes.
more because everyone's talking about this shit now. And then you go back to your lender and be like, sorry, I locked you in, man. There's nothing I can do. Now you pull out because there's nothing locking you into that. Now that lender's either lost that business
Yep.
or is trying to, is taking a financial
starts the
hit,
whole process
right?
back over,
So
yeah.
so we don't know up from down right now. And luckily, we haven't necessarily experienced that altogether in the buyer business and the purchase side of things.
Right.
Because that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting on buyers terminating or delaying their closing process because they went with a new lender because they were locked in at a higher rate. Then rates
then
dropped a
somebody else
point,
can give them a better rate.
right? That
And that's-
hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. I think it probably will. I think it's this weird combination of like those two ideas colliding, right? Like low interest rates are incredibly, obviously, like attractive to people. So it's kind of surprising that we haven't seen people start doing that. But then like there's also this world event happening that for no reason whatsoever, because it has nothing to do with real estate, is still making people nervous about real estate. So it's like, I think that's why you haven't seen it a lot, is because people are just too scared to do anything out of the ordinary. So maybe that's why people aren't pulling out and terminating deals and stuff like that. But I think it's also why, even though it's literally, this is like empirically the best time to buy a house in probably 20 years, interest rate wise, at least, we're still having to start to handle objections like, I'm too scared about I super don't want to be patronizing, but I just don't know how to be. Is like I'm super scared about how coronavirus is going to affect the real estate market. Like, I just promise you guys, your house can't get coronavirus. Like, it's a structure. It's not a real thing. Like,
it can get coronavirus.
No, it can't.
No, it can.
It just super can't.
No, you can cough on it and then it has the virus on it.
It's not how viruses work. It will die.
It's on there. It doesn't die immediately. It stays on surfaces.
It stays on.
If you're in somebody else's house licking doorknobs and touching walls, then
it's not even that. It's like touching shit.
Offside.
Here's the thing. Like, again,
everybody needs to know that Nick is easily the most corona amped up of the group.
Next week, if this is still a big deal, which I bet you it is.
It will be.
It's going to be the next big thing for 6 months.
Austin Good and Low Hornbuckle on this show.
I'm not saying if I'm not coughing directly on my dishwasher and then rubbing my dishwasher all over my face, I'm not going to get that. Will happen.
Did you not see the running the lady that was talking about don't be touching your face and your hands, and she licks her fingers to go to the next page. We unconsciously touch our face like 200 times a day. So if you're going in people's houses and there's shit going on, like the person that got in Fort Worth went to Kansas for a church retreat or whatever. It's like it's everywhere. So.
Showing up on inspection reports as the house has coronavirus.
Here's the thing: this
is that 5 or 10,000 off.
That's why you should buy a house, because if you're like that, then your current house has coronavirus. So get the hell out of there.
Get out of there. Leave that corona to somebody else. Here's the thing: I don't know if you guys saw this in some of the other groups we're a part of. There's a pretty big agent that we know, and I'm not really sure where she's at. And I'm not gonna throw her name out because I don't want to. I don't know if she wants us to or not. But she legitimately has a listing that has a tenant in it, and the tenant will not allow showings unless people are like suited and booted for the they have to be wearing like booties and latex gloves and face masks, which by the way aren't going to help you a ton
unless you have the N95 mask,
right? Which I don't think you're getting that for showings.
I have one.
So absurd.
I'll sell one.
I don't need one.
That's where I'm afraid of this is going.
It's just people are getting silly, right?
I think
and that's what's causing the financial
hysteria is going to hurt listing business because people aren't going to want to show their homes, and that I don't know enough about viruses to argue with that. I don't know if that's.
But it's not just the virus anymore. Now we're in an oil war.
Well, it's hilarious that we had this talk on the other podcast earlier. It's just hysterical to me that we had the biggest single day drop since December 2008 on Monday, which is a big. If you trade your own account or if you manage your own money, it was a real crazy day. If you're smart enough to short the S&P, like I was,
as we sat in Telluride,
then you had a fantastic day.
Brian, right before he started dying, was like, "I'm going to go against the grain on this one.
If this is the last thing I do." It's crazy to me that people hysteria causes the market to move for sure. It's just funny how the Saudis and Russians have been in an oil war forever, and it's starting to sort of really reach a bubbling over point, which is, if anything affected the market on Monday or today, people are like, no way, it's coronavirus. That's why my Tesla stock dropped, because it doesn't even make sense.
So let's get a little bit serious for the next.
Yeah, we're only 13 minutes in. We might as well start talking about things that matter.
This is fun to me, though. Like this
I'm
is
having way more fun.
Yeah, this is like networking all the way, right? Ryan Harper just said Joe Rogan had a great podcast on Chrono the other day, and he dropped the YouTube link.
See, that's what happens when I got freaking sick. I hadn't been doing my bike in the morning every day and listening to Joe Rogan. Now I'm way behind.
Jay Kendrick just sent it to me on the way over, so I haven't listened to it yet. But
love that podcast.
It's probably rational and sensical if it's
sure 100%, which is fun to listen to for me because it's a break from all the.
Here's the way that
listen to him.
Here's what we need to be looking at, though, right? Because one, you start hearing with everything going on, as much as we're joking around, and then at the same time we think that, look, it's a lot of it is probably getting somewhat blown out of proportion, at least from the economy wise, right? But what's going to happen is this could push us into a recession, right? Because there's money is stopping. Airlines there was a report like 40 to 60% drop in passengers.
There's a huge tangible economic impact from basically quarantining, which is what's going to need to happen. Yeah, absolutely.
Big time friend of the show, Aaron Foster, actually texted me yesterday. He's flying down to Dallas in May because he got round trip tickets for like $95.
Dude, I was looking at going to Yankees opening day last night when I was at the Stars game. It was like whole trip was going to cost me like $400 that's with game tickets and everything.
But are they actually going to play in front of a crowd?
That's what I don't know. That's why I didn't go forward with it, because I was like, I don't want to get all in on this plane ticket and then have nothing to do up there.
But here's what ends up happening. I dusted off the shift book because I built my business during the '08 recession, right? And I didn't feel the pain. I didn't know any better, right? I mean, I was selling over 100 units, I think, in starting in '09 and '10.
Yeah.
And it was going after short sales. It was the prospecting based method. And some here in the shift book, it talks about, the funny thing is, like, once a shift happens or once it's over, we act as if it will never happen again. So we get that amnesia, right? And there's some people in here that are talking about, nah, we're not going to recession. Bullshit. We're due anyway. We're due in terms
100%
of 100%
at that point of the business cycle.
So one, we deal with many recessions on a yearly basis. It's called seasonality, right? But somehow we're okay with that. But you start bringing up, we're heading into recession. No, man, not going to happen. Not going to be as bad as '08. Well, how do you know?
They don't want it to be. They don't know.
Right? Yeah. So you don't know. But we should start preparing for that. Right? We've talked about it on the show. You can go check out the episodes past. I don't remember which one. Again, we got to do a better job at remembering which episode so we can reference this in the show. You can go back and listen to it. But I know that, Brian, you talked about on your monthly P&Ls that it may have been 3 or 4 episodes ago where you were redlining through and you're getting rid of some things.
Yeah,
right?
for
You
sure.
were talking about cutting cost. And, during an uptick in the economy and real estate cycles, right, what happens is you don't hold your dollar as accountable anymore, right?
100%.
Right? So you get a little bloated. You're still making money, but you're like, I'll get to it. I'm busy right now. Kind of like probably how lenders are right now.
Sure.
Right? Lenders are swamped. They're working 14, 15, 16-hour days.
Yep.
And so if they were doing any type of advertising, I guarantee you they're not thinking about it right now.
Sure.
They're just trying to make sure they're getting back to the phone calls, blocking applications, and making sure that people stay with their refinances. And then they've got their purchase business mixed in there, right? And so, it talks about this. If you're not reading the shift book, go out and get it and just study it. Because one, it's great even if we're not in a shifting market. Right, it talks about the law of equilibrium, and the law of equilibrium states that the available income in a market determines the number of agents in a market.
Yes. The best way to put that is there will always be enough success for the amount of players in the arena.
Yes.
The rest will get out.
Right.
Like,
So as the number of transactions increase, so do the number of agents.
yes.
But here's what happens. What we don't feel, and this is probably like, these are what I can think about as like cooking a frog alive. It's slow, right? They don't jump out of the pan. Like if you put them in a hot pan, they immediately jump out. And the way I think about it is what we don't feel right away is as the number of transactions in a marketplace declines, the number of agents don't decline as fast.
Yes.
Right? So what happens is now you've got this huge pool of competition going after fewer and fewer deals.
Yep.
And what happens is people start pulling their pants down and saying, I'll do it for X, I'll do it for Y. Next thing you know, they're somehow doing it for free and still calling themselves a business owner. Right? So you've got to start preparing for the business.
I'm not looking at Derek's cracking up back there. He's still laughing at people pulling your pants down.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes.
It's
it kind of
perfect
goes in
metaphor.
line with what we're talking about
This is a
before
perfect
show. Should we
analogy.
talk about that?
Well, that's probably what we're going to end on, I think. I don't have a billionaire idea today, so we'll talk about what we do for $500,000.
I'm just hoping that we can still bring knowledge even dressed like this.
Oh, my gosh.
I got to hold my mic up because they gave us these damn short stack nut mics.
His story about that shit
But I
today.
hope that.
What does it say?
It says, life for a shorty shouldn't be so rough. It's from the Wu-Tang Clan.
It's a Wu-Tang lyric. It's some dude at
I
the
just hope we can
office,
bring a lot of knowledge.
Some guy at the office read it today just like it was dead serious. And like,
He read it like a 70-year-old guy would too. Life for a shorty shouldn't be so rough. Like there's a fucking question mark at the end of it.
You should almost have
I was
him
like,
read
I wish
the
I was
entire-
rolling tape on
Dude,
that so bad.
Get him on there for your YouTube and have him read all
Just
the
read the
lyrics.
lyrics
Yes.
for Cream. One, it's like a 10-minute long song because Wu-Tang lets everybody rap on that.
100%.
It goes on forever, but yeah, we'll try it out.
So I remember during the 08, 09, 10, during that whole crisis going on. Like, I remember going on expired appointments, and I'm up against 12, 13, 14,
Yeah.
15 agents, and I'm like, I mean, even though it betters yourself, I'm like, I don't really want to go through that shit again.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, here's the thing. Like, you're right about that period where there's way too many agents in the marketplace, but that levels out. Like you said, like that wasn't the case probably in 2011, 2012. A lot of agents had gotten out of the business by then. I think the big thing that people really need to focus on, if they're going to, let's just say what it is, if they're going to survive this, because this is just another economic cycle, and every economic cycle wipes out a certain percentage of people in the industry. If they're going to survive this, you've got to learn to bring value to people. Like especially in very hot real estate markets, like you just don't have to bring a lot of value to people, and you'll still get business, right? When you're, in 2014, 2015, when everything you put on the market would just sell immediately, like you don't have to be good at what you do, right? Like whenever every buyer is dying to get into a home and will offer $15,000 over asking and pay for a short appraisal or what, like you don't have to advise your clients very well. Like they are taking the reins, they're doing what they're doing, right? Like more agents will get out of the marketplace as this downturn continues, but the way to really survive and thrive is to start to become an expert, right? Like, what is your value proposition to your buyers and sellers? What makes you great? What makes you really fundamentally good at what you do? We spend a lot of time with our team trying to not just talking about lead gen, not just talking about marketing, not just talking about follow-up, not just talking about all that stuff, but making it easier, making all of those processes easier and more fruitful by training them to be very good at what they do, knowledgeable, valuable, like really trusted fiduciaries. And it's a weird thing to have to say, but I would disagree if you told me that every agent really knew what the hell they were doing, because I don't think they do.
I wouldn't only disagree. I would bet every dollar I make for the rest of my career
I mean,
that the majority don't know what they're doing.
And here's the reason why. They're not. How many people have dusted off their books and going and trying to learn more about the business cycle?
Yeah.
Honestly, when we were on our mastermind call for Tor on Monday and you said that, I was like, I have the spiral bound shift book sitting right there. I was like, you know what? I don't even know why I didn't think to turn around and grab that thing. I mean, it's 10 feet away from where we were talking.
And here's the thing, like a lot of this when I'm going through it, I'm like, all right, makes sense. Like, you already know how to do it. It's the same thing about being healthy in life, right? We know a lot of this, but we need that constant reminder, right? Yep. It talks about, how long it takes to get from survive to thrive can vary greatly from time to time, from person to person. But in a market shift, there's a lag time. And then there is your shift and your lag time. So if you're not shifting fast enough, you're out of business. Right? And that's the problem that happens when we start talking about it. And people are like, here we go again, market shift talk. No, if you're not preparing for when the rain's coming and you don't have your umbrella ready, guess what? You're getting rained on, you're getting wet.
It's going to shift whether you like it or not.
Exactly. And so there's no reason why you shouldn't study up on this, even if we were in a fucking amazing market, right? Because it makes you a more profitable business owner.
Yep, 100%. Here's the thing. All the things that you need to do out of necessity when the business shifts, you really should be doing even when the market is good. When we talk about my P&L and redlining, all sorts of stuff, like I do that even when the market is good because I try to hold my dollars accountable. And we've had people that I know very well, that I love very much in this business, that are really great producing agents that are just broke as fuck, dude, because they just don't know how to manage their money. It's just selling a lot of real estate doesn't mean anything if you're not running a profitable business. And this is kind of a detour, but I think this is something that a lot of agents suffer from. It's just the inability to hold their dollars accountable. And that's really just out of a lack of willingness to learn how to do that type of stuff, because any idiot can figure out how to hold your dollars accountable. It's just learning what you're trying to accomplish and then being disciplined to it. And I think a lot of agents don't take the time to do that. Things will change when there's a shift, right? You're going to have a lot of lead sources that you're going to have to start figuring out how to measure differently, right? Like your digital leads are going to take even longer to nurture if they think that the market is down and it's not a great time to buy a house. Doesn't mean that it's not still a valuable lead source. You're going to have to measure your ROI on that on a longer time horizon, right? You're just going to have to figure out better ways to hold your dollars accountable, but just starting to hold your dollar. Like if you do not have a monthly, like if you can't pull up your laptop, This is just general advice for every single person who's involved in real estate. If you cannot pull up your computer, open a folder that says financials, and look at all of your itemized profit and loss statements from every single month that your business is running, like you're not running an efficient business. It's got to be there.
I'll tell you, and look, just very practically, because I'm the one on this show, and we start talking about P&Ls, I'm like, but here's the thing. I will tell you from an activity standpoint, if our office is any indication of what your real estate office looks like, we are at the end of Q1 rolling into Q2, which is if you can't make money in these 2 quarters, you really shouldn't be in this industry. And offices are empty right now. This is a time for you to take a little bit of space too, because there's people in your office who just aren't showing up, right?
Absolutely, yeah. There we go.
Derek, you like set off a bomb, and I know it's not Derek's fault. Just anytime there's anything that happens in my headphones, I just immediately blame Derek.
I don't even blame him. I just don't
didn't
know
even
what
touch
to do.
Derek, what are you doing?
I didn't even touch anything.
We got
I did it with my feet probably.
It's got to be.
But I think for agents who, like I said, even just getting into higher levels of activity than you're normally in right now will allow you to take some territory, because there's people aren't. All the sheep are falling in line, and they're not even showing up to work.
Yeah.
Well, here's a good one, right? It talks about tactic number 2. There's 12 tactics it talks about in the Shift book. And look, we do a lot of them from being a prospecting-based team. But it talks about James York, a University of Maryland mathematics and physics professor, put it perfectly. He said the most successful people are those who are good at Plan B. Right, and we start talking about we start talking about, like, I always have an exit strategy, and everyone's like, oh, worst case scenario type guy. No, I want an exit strategy because I want a plan B.
Crazy loud.
No, I'm pouring more water.
Got a White Claw commercial. Matt, you hit it perfectly, saying, like, if you're struggling with profitability right now, what happens what happens if this draws out even longer and we haven't truly felt the economic shift on this.
Not at all.
Because here's the thing, because of lag time, we're still with the momentum of the economy going, we're still rolling forward. Guess what? We're going to feel there's a good possibility we will feel this shift during summer, during Q3.
Have you ever seen, I think it's Singapore. You ever seen, like, the YouTube videos of the real estate agents, like, beating the shit out of each other in Singapore because like the inventory is so
Somebody please
low,
post a link to that.
And there's this is a real thing. It might not be Singapore, but it's definitely somewhere over there.
Is it real fighting?
Oh, they're legit fighting. There's like a brawl because some because some lady is interested in some apartment unit or something. There's way too many agents and not enough inventory, and it's all super expensive. So you only need like 2 deals to survive a year.
I wish I could beat an agent's ass and win in multiple offers.
All I'm saying is that, like, that's probably not happening right now. Is what I'm saying. So, like, we haven't even felt the impact.
I just inquired. I'm about to sign up for some private Krav Maga lessons.
Okay.
I don't want to deal with everyone else. They might have Corona.
All those other Corona Kravers. If I was going to do anything, it'd be Krav Maga.
Yeah.
It seems like it's the most kick-ass thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't really understand, and maybe you guys can help me out with this a little bit, and Nick probably even more so. It seems like the investment money is this first one to react. Like, a lot of the investment guys are immediately jumping back.
Hong Kong property agents are brawling in the streets. It's Hong Kong, but that's not happening right now.
Yes and no, right? I mean, we've had some of our investor money. We've had some pullbacks in there, but look, Austin and I have been investing. I mean, can we say for a long time?
Yeah,
bananas.
I mean, we've been investing since at least for 10 years. So 2010 was our first investment deal here. So
EANANAS.
And what we've noticed is we didn't have any money pulled back during 10, 11, 12, right? We saw more investors going in. I think it's more the fear of the unknown right now, right? So they're not investors. Some of these investors aren't wanting to commit their money. Maybe they're trying to hold off to see maybe there's a better opportunity that comes into play or whatnot. For most of our products that we do, we are for a build for rent community. So, we've got, again, we talk about a plan B. In the projects that we build and we do, we've got multiple exit strategies in there. So, and for rent communities and rental units in general did very well during the recession.
Yeah.
100%.
Right? We didn't go up in value. You didn't really grow your net worth,
Right.
but your cash flow was strong.
Cash flow is, yeah, absolutely.
You know, we should definitely have Austin on. We should do a.
The fact
a
that we haven't
big
had Austin on,
investor.
it's kind of an oversight on our part. We're like 55 episodes into this, and the guy that we all personally regard as one of the smartest money managers and like developers that we personally know, we're like, nah.
See him all the time, too. I thought I didn't want to come on. I thought I said I didn't like our show.
I think he ever
I'm
said
just
that.
kidding. I don't know.
I think he gave it like 3.5 stars.
Oh, that's really good coming from him. Out of
Actually,
10?
it's good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, out of 10.
Out of 10.
So it talks about, tactic number 2 is remargin your business, expense management, start cutting to get your profitability up. So you're wanting to build that fortress around profitability. And if you're bloated, you need to downsize. Right?
We had this conversation with our coach yesterday.
Yes.
Actually, just about because we've had, just from an agent turnover standpoint, we had, had somebody leave for a reason that wasn't really all that, it's nothing we can control. And then some other people who, Brian, have always said that if we think you have some drive, we'll keep you on the team. And then sometimes if you don't show up, it's like, if you're not going to bother to like exit the team either, we'll keep you on. And I think we saw some flaws in that strategy yesterday, though, like moving forward kind of into this space. One, it really just mentally distracts us from focusing on the right people more than anything else. And I think that's the same thing that you could implement in your business from a financial standpoint. Like I know for me personally, if you're a real estate agent like me, money 100% distracts me.
Yes.
Right. And the lack of it distracts me even more. So I think it's a really good time for, like Brian said, for you to take a look at your P&L and cut out the stuff you don't need. There's a shocking amount of stuff that most agents are paying for that they probably do not use.
Absolutely. I know that's true, and that's even worse when you don't even have a P&L. Because I get like that in my personal life. Like there's months where, I'll do my budget or I'll go over my expenses on, the first day of the next month, and I'll just hadn't been keeping good track of everything, and I'm like, holy shit, I spent $12,000 on Whataburger. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but
in 1 month.
yeah, right? But like we do that with our businesses, but mostly because we don't even like. That's a good way to put it. Is that fear of the unknown, I think, comes into play here too. I would venture to say one of the biggest reasons that agents don't really keep great financials is because they don't want to face how much they're spending on stuff. You know what I mean? Like they don't really want to look in the mirror and be like, I'm spending how much on this crap that I know I don't need. Like it's real easy, as long as your bills are paid, even if you're not highly profitable, to just keep the fancy office, keep the fancy car, keep the fancy lead gen sources, keep the shiny toys. As long as you don't have that PDF file that's on your computer every month on the first day, staring you in the face and being like, what did you spend $37,000 on last month? You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to just out of sight, out of mind.
And even your personal, like I think a lot of agents' eyes glaze over when we talk about P&L because a lot of individual agents, we know that, just don't have one, right? Like
it's tough to be the personality profile of somebody who keeps really good books and is also a really great people person who usually make really great agents is a unique personality profile.
So I think a lot of agents tune that out. So what I would challenge everybody to do is just legitimately pull up your bank statement and see, like, pull up your Apple Pay.
Yeah.
How many things do you just have reoccurring every single month that you don't really need, right? Like, I know I probably have $100 worth of things that go out on Apple Pay every month, and I bet you at least $40 worth of that is just nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, capital's capital, man. That's what people don't realize. Like, we're not just talking about cutting your expenses in your business to make yourself more profitable. Like, what are you doing in your life that you're not tracking that is probably just going right out the window, that is providing you no happiness, joy, satisfaction, or value whatsoever?
Yep.
I know for me, I try to be disciplined, but every single month, I guarantee you, I've still got stuff that is just flushed down the drain that I've spent money on, and that could easily be reinvested back into our business.
Which one do you think is a more motivating factor? Is it the opportunity for financial gain or the fear of financial loss?
Fear of financial loss.
For sure.
Yep.
That is settled science.
Right? Yeah. So we what is it? Is it 98% moves? Will move away from something because it's painful.
Yep.
And only 2% will move towards something because it's
it's attractive,
it's pleasure,
and
attractive
pleasure.
opportunity. Yep. And so that's definitely interesting. You talk about it talks about in here as a business owner, and we should be running our household as a business too. I don't have a P&L for my personal. I think I want to leverage that out.
Justin Nelson.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Someone needs to handle that. But it talks about, again, in the shift book. This is why, even though we know it, we need to reread it. It says, interestingly, one might think that the goal of profit would provide the motivation necessary to do this, but research and personal experience have proven otherwise. Fear of financial loss is a more powerful motivator than the opportunity for financial gain.
I believe
right?
that.
So which to me makes no sense, right? Because we're always talking about opportunity.
Yep.
And right now, your opportunity is building up a profitable and successful business that will withstand a knockout punch.
Yep.
Right? That could be coming in 6-12 months. That could put you back out in a workforce.
Yep.
That may be tough to even get a job.
That's a big thing, man. If there's real economic impact here, then the job market is obviously what's going to suffer the most. It's just opportunity is a buzzword, man. Everybody talks about it until it's time to go out and seize it. It's way easier to just pull the covers back up over it and go and hide. You're right. If you were given the opportunity to do something to earn $100,000, very few people would really jump on the opportunity.
What would you do for $100,000?
That's
pre-show talk.
we got a couple of minutes here.
10 minutes left.
But if you had $100,000 and somebody stole it from you, you'd go to the ends of the earth to get it back. It's just how it is.
Yeah. Well, it talks about we should do. I want to do a whole show on what are you doing to prepare. Like, let's get down to nitty gritty because it talks about back to the basics, which we do. We do a lot of that. I would say that the first quarter of 2020. We've come out of the gate really strong.
Yeah.
And as we've come out of the gate really strong, what happens is you let the busyness of the business
Eat you up.
start to eat away from the lead gen time. So I'm starting to see, agents, they're coming in less and less in the office, right?
Yup.
They're not hitting their lead
Her
gen.
group DFW,
If
we're
you're
talking to
watching
you.
this,
They're not hitting their lead gen as hard, right? They're not setting as many appointments, right? Because again, they're not in this moment. They feel secure in the amount of business that they have,
Yeah.
Yep.
right? But what you're not factoring is what happens if you got some lossage, right? What happens? We've got one right now where there's a buyer we're trying to save a deal, but ultimately they're looking at terminating because at the end of the day they wanted a $1,700 a month payment. It's $188 that includes an HOA, and they want to wait to save up more money to put for a down payment for in the future. Mm-hmm. And so what we're trying to have is this heart-to-heart talk that says, look, for every $10,000 you put down, it's only going to save you $50 to $60. How long will it take you to save $10,000 first off to lower
For most
this
people,
payment?
probably a year and a half.
At least. It's probably longer. It's
It
probably 2
probably
years.
is longer than that.
Right?
Yeah.
Because once they start saving, they actually start spending a little bit more.
Of course.
Yeah.
Then, so it's understanding having these tough conversations and showing people, saying at the end of the day, $188 is $2,268 a year, difference in terms of what you thought you were going to pay, yearly versus what the reality is. Right. Are you going to lose out on an opportunity for over $2,268 when right now interest rates are stupid low?
Yep.
Right. By the time you purchase in a year or two, rates will more than likely, high probability, be back up. So now where our purchasing power is, now we're actually going to be at a less purchase price. That's going to put you in a even more competitive market. That's not going to be a comparable home.
Yep.
So let's work the numbers out. If you can truly afford it, which this buyer can, they just had their heart set on a certain payment.
Yep.
Right? So now now you're getting into learning how to have more of these difficult conversations and working the real raw numbers.
I hope that all the agents just heard that particular example a lot, because I think as agents we do that a lot. We allow our clients to think in fives and tens of thousands of dollars, when in reality most people live their life in monthly payment mode. So allowing your client to think that the house is going to cost them $20,000 more, one, is ridiculous because the odds of them staying in the home,
paying for the home,
is irrelevant. And it gets them in the right mindset to where they're making the decisions that's best for them. Because I've had that conversation with buyers many times. Like, I even asked them this: do you like this house $50 more a month than you liked it at our previous offer? Because that's the conversation that we're having.
100%. Or here's the other conversation we're having, right? If this buyer stays on board with buying, they wanted to look at, a $35,000 to $40,000 cheaper price range.
Yeah.
And we're already in a competitive price range where they're at right now, the $240,000 to $250,000
They probably can't get what they want down there,
right?
low twos.
You start going in there and you say, all right, for $188 more a month, What type of neighborhood and what type of house do you think that you are in versus the house that if you want that $1,700 a month payment at maybe $215, $210, what is that? How do you compare those two? Only you can answer that.
Yep.
I'm not the one having to live in your house. I'm not the one having to make the payment. But I want to look at a more logical, a more logical reasoning base off this, because what ends up happening is we let emotions decide where we're going to live. And when you break it down in the next 12 to 18 to 24 months, it's not going to matter, right? Especially when you talk to people that may have a little bit more of a stressful move-in or negotiation period when they're like, man, this part sucks. And then you go back and remind them, when you see them, a year or two later, and they're like, it was only painful for that one little moment.
Just through closing. Once you're moved into the house and it's a month later, I told you guys, the worst closing of my entire life happened in December. I talked to those people the other day. They love the house.
Yes.
Everything is fine. You know why? Because they're not in the immediate pain of that transaction anymore.
Right.
Now they're in the house they want. Did it cost them a few extra $1,000s because the seller was a pain in the ass? Sure it did. But at this point, it just all kind of washes out over time.
So this is where the agents, as the market shifts, that they need to be prepared and they need to start working on learning how to truly be an advisor to their clients.
Yes.
Because during the great market, they're like, take it or leave it, right?
Yeah.
This is what you're getting. If you want to bitch, sorry, you can't bitch at the market. That's the way it is.
Yep.
Right? We've got 50 offers on this one. How much do you love this house? Right? And so you're not an advisor.
Yep. Well, and look, it's even the same way when your buyer gets in multiple offer situations. I'm not saying that you shouldn't advise them and make sure they don't make a terrible decision. But there's 3 offers on the property. Guess what? $10,000 under list ain't going to cut it, right? Like some of I think what this really allows us to do, because I came in right as the DFW market got smoking hot. Yeah. So this will be my first kind of cycle through the downturn and like you and I talked about the other day, like you were talking about with Elizabeth too, to increase the prospecting aspect in order to offset what the other lead sources that we have that are going to fall down. This is a huge opportunity, I think, for agents who have been in this for less than, I've been in it 7 years, right? If you've been in it less than me, then this is the first time you're going through it too, if you're in this market. And I think it's a really, really great opportunity for agents to really see what their business requires from them from a work standpoint in order to maintain the type of lifestyle they want to have outside of real estate. And that's the hardest thing, because when you start selling a bunch of real estate, I'll be honest with you, and I told Nick this the other day, I'm nervous about having to go back to prospecting. My business is kind of settled in this really sweet place where kind of shit just falls in my lap a little bit.
Kind of fun every day, yeah.
And I'm not super excited about it, but I'm very, very glad that I have the skill set to be able to dive back into it.
It keeps the staying power there.
I think so.
Right?
Inevitably, that's going to happen.
Right? Because there are people that are no longer in this business that the recession knocked out, that if you were to go back and look at it, you're like, man, they had an amazing business, or so you thought.
Yeah.
Right? For that time period, they were rock stars.
Yep.
And what ended up happening is they got comfortable. They got complacent. And it talks about the 6 core competencies of a business: lead generate, capture, and convert to appointments. Number 2 is present to buyers and sellers and get agreements, right? We all know this. This is easy, but we don't focus that. Are we truly doing number 1 and number 2 on a day in and day out basis? We're not. No. Show buyers and market sellers. Duh. Right?
Yeah.
Right? And then write and negotiate contracts, coordinate the sale to closing, and manage the money.
And here's the thing, guys. Some of this shit you're already doing. Don't look at this as like a daunting task.
Yeah,
you're already trying to get buyers and sellers.
This, yeah.
You're already coordinating closings and some of this stuff. This isn't 12 new things you have to learn.
It's just doubling down.
It's being disciplined.
So here's
inside
the cool
your
thing.
business.
Because of this show, if you've watched this show, and if you're first time watching this show, let's say you're a new listener.
Sorry we cuss so much.
Yeah, we're not sorry we cuss so much.
We're actually not.
No,
deal with it.
Yeah, deal with it, because you're going to learn a lot of shit from here.
Exactly.
Right. I'm tired of apologizing. Fuck that shit.
Yes,
I'm tired, man. I'm tired of apologizing. Here's what I'm going to say. First off, you need to go to touracademy.com/take10. Learn how we're taking listings, right? Listings to last. Right? And from there, then go and watch our virtual assistant webinar with Justin Nelson, because you're going to need to be able to leverage it out without taking on a huge expense. So touracademy.com/VA, right? VA. Right? Go watch go watch the virtual assistant one where you can pick up a virtual assistant that can help leverage out your time for $3.50 an hour. That's nuts.
Really?
Really.
I will tell you, I got my VA invoice for week 1. My VA was $3 an hour. And here, you want to hear? I want to tell a little success story on the VA thing because we're wrapping up here, and honestly, like, nobody wants responsibility talk. You guys are showing us that by how many of you are still here. But here's the thing, right? Like, the VA thing. If this is something let's just talk about like streamlining your business a little bit. As we just sat here and talked about getting your P&L in order, let's talk about how you can spend some money. The reality is I had this huge mental block yesterday till about noon about this pending I need to get submitted. And I told Brian about this because Brian can't possibly fathom a human being this way, right? And I told him, I said, I logged in to my like I got on my computer and checked out my email and saw that my assistant had uploaded my pending for Lady to submit. You guys don't understand how the sun peeked out from behind the clouds of my mind in that moment. But all of a sudden I realized this task, this one stupid task of many tasks that I don't do in a general day, all of a sudden being done was the most amazing thing. And it happened again.
Today, air smelled fresher.
I had another pending and another listing to go through. Those both got submitted. I didn't have to think about them. They're just there now. Now Lady can go do her thing. Here's the deal, though. If you're anything like me, what the VA really does is it gives you back this peace of mind that I have somebody I know and trust inside my communication that can now send this stuff off to Lady so Lady can start doing her job, which is the real part that I get stressed about because that's where all the client servicing comes in, right? The longer that pending sits in my inbox, the longer the client's going without getting any attention from anybody. So if you've been on the fence about the VA thing, I suggest you at the very least schedule a call with Justin because whether you're highly buttoned up like these two and you need it to go run all the badass systems, or if you're just a knucklehead like me and need somebody to answer your emails, there's a reasonable solution either way. And both of them will make your life a little bit easier. So go check out the VAs.
Heck yeah.
What else?
Do it, Derek.
Oh, he's got one.
And now, Brian Force's billionaire movie something.
This is a short one. This is like not even as half baked as my
she
normal
said.
half baked ones. I have this idea where like I'm a big Tony Robbins guy. I'm a student of Tony Robbins since I was very, very young. But I've never walked across the coals or anything like that, like he does the firewalks. I have this idea where I'm going to trick you into doing something dangerous because I'm a billionaire and I can, but it's really only going to be for my own amusement, right? It's like the premise behind Derek. Oh, I fixed it. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Oh man, I just can't believe that worked.
No, there it goes. You're doing that shit on purpose, aren't you?
No, it's a
not
wire that
me.
Brian's bumping with his foot. Brian's got the box in front of him. He's
I
bumping
am
it.
not doing it. Anyway, I have this idea where like, so I think it's amazing what Tony Robbins is able to get you to do with the fire coal or the firewalk because it's people finding it inside of them to do something that they didn't think they were capable of, and that's amazing and it's so cool. And if you've ever done it, like kudos to you. I think that's badass. I'm gonna do the exact opposite.
Yeah, people walk on ice cubes.
No, I'm gonna do like my billionaire summit where I'm like, I'm gonna teach you all the secrets to be a billionaire like me, and then we're gonna like all pumped up and like you're gonna spend 3 days learning from me and get all excited, and then like at the end we're gonna like walk across like a quarter mile of broken glass, and I'm gonna be like, you gotta find it inside yourself, and then people are gonna just get like all torn up and like super injured, and I'm gonna be like, I guess you just don't have it.
That's what the guy in Die Hard did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly.
And you're gonna be like, why are my feet hurting so bad? I'd be like, I guess you just don't have it in you to be a billionaire, but thank you for coming to my seminar. Like, I've made a fortune from you guys. This is fantastic. Come out 2021. We're gonna do gasoline instead of glass.
Glass covered fired gasoline. Be amazing.
How did you come up with this idea?
I just kind of figured like nobody becomes Tony Robbins after the seminar, so it's not like they can expect to just be me. So there's sort of a plausible deniability there.
That is a
I
good
agree.
point. Who's ever gone to
And they'll
Tony
be
Robbins?
like, when was the first time you walked on glass? I'll be like, I never did. I became a billionaire long before this.
who
Like,
has gone to Tony Robbins that has now rivaled Tony Robbins in that space?
I don't think anybody.
Ooh, that's a good
Dick
question.
Cardone,
So-
maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, but
Maybe he just
That
because
guy
he had
is-
that big ass Vegas thing.
does Tony just keep a
sure.
ceiling there?
He does. He
So,
keeps
like-
all the real secrets.
Can I give a super unpopular take? And I know all the Tony Robbinsers are going to jump on
Put
me.
my headphones on for this.
I don't think walking on like fire is that goddamn impressive.
It's
Just walk
actually-
fast.
It's actually super safe compared to other
Yeah,
stuff.
man, they're not
as
gonna let you
opposed
get
to
hurt.
How scary it seems, it's pretty controlled.
You want to impress me? Like, jump 50 feet into a wading pool. That takes nerves of
Wouldn't
steel.
it be
The
cool?
snakes.
I think there should be like a fight club on the last day of a seminar. It's like instead of walking across coals, you get jumped into Tony Robbins' game.
I would be ready for that
It's
once
like
I'm done with my
Tony
Krav Maga
Robbins'
training.
10 biggest security guards, and you have to fight everyone in the audience.
People's life have been changed by the fireworks, so I don't want to minimize it.
No,
I'm also
I
just like,
understand. We're not bagging it. Like that's actually incredibly impressive, and I really
I've
am
never
a big
done it. Maybe
Tony
it's
Robbins
crazy
fan.
hot, but I also feel like you speak. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, it's
No, because I think what you're supposed to do
not
is
law.
everyone else is not doing it, so you probably suck it in, and you're like, all right, if this fucker over here can do it, like I'm just gonna be able to man up.
You want to impress me? Do what Dwight Schrute does in The Office when Michael Scott's trying to find a new office manager. Just stand on those bitches until you get the job. Then I'll believe it
Do
was
you think
hot.
anyone's ever fallen during the firewall?
Oh, doesn't he have to like stop doing it because people like actually hurt themselves? Isn't
Dude,
that,
a
like,
bunch
such
of people here in Dallas got all burnt. Like they blew it out of proportion. They were like, Tony Robbins literally sets people on fire. And no, it's like a couple people got blisters or something. They're fine. But if you legit like just biffed it and just like because
I see it.
because
It
then
could
your
be
hair
awful.
would catch on fire and stuff.
Be an
when you
awful
fell.
situation.
Man, that would be some. Dun 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 dun
Well,
dun, dun, dun.
I just hope that today, even though our attire is that of guys who might be going to a bar after this, that you still found value in what we're bringing, regardless of what we were wearing.
I think there's a shit ton of nuggets in
I
here.
think there is.
I think there is too, and I appreciate you watching and not judging us by our appearance,
Don't judge us by our clothes.
but by the words coming out of our heads.
Should we talk about that real quick before we end the show?
I think we just talked about it. D, take us out.